Observation report #2187D, Celestial Standard Time 7.31.492. I've never requested emergency extraction before. 23 cycles studying obscure species on forgotten planets, and I've faced everything from ammonia-breathing crystal beasts to sentient volcanic eruptions. But humans? Humans have broken me. Listen to this, they have individuals who have lived beyond 120 orbits. 120. It's obscene. Almost purposefully antagonistic to the natural order. When I submitted my findings, Central Analysis assumed I'd misunderstood their measurement systems. No, I did not misunderstand. They're actually doing this. Taz-Nix hadn't meant to knock over the beaker of saline solution. Her third manipulator appendage had been trembling uncontrollably since the latest laboratory results came in. The data simply couldn't be right. Humans were continuing to push their lifespans well beyond their biological sell-by date, and nobody seemed concerned about it. Least of all the humans themselves. Projection assist, display current human maximum lifespan against historical trends, Taz commanded, her primary gills flaring in agitation. The holographic display above her research station pulsed into existence, showing an unmistakable upward curve. Unprecedented, she hissed through her secondary speech sac. Completely unprecedented in any mammalian species we've studied. They should have peaked at 40 orbits like all their evolutionary cousins. The laboratory aboard the observation vessel Precise Inquiry had been Taz's home for 3 solar cycles now. Hidden in orbit around Earth's moon, the ship's sophisticated camouflage had allowed her team to study humanity without detection. What had begun as a standard biological survey had evolved into something far more disturbing. Projection assist, overlays cellular degradation rates across all observed terrestrial mammals. The display shifted, showing hundreds of species and their predictable patterns of aging and death. And then there were humans, the anomaly, the statistical outlier, the increasingly frustrating puzzle. Show me the comparative telomere breakdown, she demanded. The data appeared, and Taz's epidermis darkened with stress. Humans were repairing their telomeres. Not naturally, they were deliberately hacking their own genetics. This species understands that death is normal, right? She muttered to herself, pressing a nutrient patch against her absorption membrane. Every other intelligent species we've encountered has accepted their mortality. The Glorians developed elaborate death rituals. The Percivians created spectacular post-mortem art forms. Even the machine-augmented Ket eventually shut themselves down when they reached their predetermined endpoints. The door to the laboratory hissed open, and Rosvalin entered. The mission commander's central eye narrowed at the sight of the holographic display. Still obsessing over the death deniers, researcher Taz-Nix. Taz's primary voice sac pulsed in embarrassment. They're not just denying death, Commander. They're actively fighting it. Look at these new projections, they're genuinely trying to achieve immortality. Rosvalin extended a sensing tendril toward the data. Fascinating but irrelevant. All species explore this path briefly before accepting the inevitable cycle. Remember the Dravaks? They spent 3 centuries trying to upload their consciousness into crystal matrices before finally embracing their 18-year lifespans. But the humans are different, Taz insisted. They're making actual progress. Commander Roz retracted the tendril sharply. Do not become emotionally invested, researcher. Document, analyze, and move on. We have 13 other species to catalog in this system alone. After the commander left, Taz slumped against her research station. Perhaps she was overreacting, becoming too fixated on this particular peculiarity of human biology. Every species had its oddities. The gelatinous cloud dwellers of Zarvis Prime reproduced by explosive decompression. The silicon-based lithomorphs of Tau Ceti hibernated for millennia between 15-minute mating frenzies. But something about humanity's relationship with death felt different. More desperate. More personal. Projection assist, show me current human anti-aging research by category. The display reorganized, showing thousands of simultaneous research efforts across the planet: telomere regeneration, cellular reprogramming, mitochondrial enhancement, microbiome optimization, nanotech repair systems, consciousness digitization, cyborg integration, and dozens more approaches. Taz's decision crystallized. She needed to understand this aberration from the inside. Projection assist, prepare deep immersion protocol. I need to become one of them. The system chimed a warning. Deep immersion in human society violates observation protocol Zeta 9. Confirm authorization. Taz hesitated, then pressed her primary appendage against the authorization pad. Override Zeta 9. Classification, essential research exception. 3 days later, Taylor Nixon stepped out of a taxi in San Francisco, her human disguise perfect down to the last freckle. The biosynthetic skin felt strange, too dry, too inflexible, but the neural interface allowed her to move naturally. She had chosen the identity of a visiting researcher in biogerontology, using fabricated credentials that would grant her access to humanity's leading longevity research. The Wonder Years Institute loomed before her, its glass and bamboo architecture reflecting the morning sun. Inside, some of Earth's most brilliant minds were attempting to solve the problem of aging. As if mortality were a disease rather than the natural conclusion to existence. Taylor straightened her shoulders and walked through the doors, her human heart beating with artificial nervousness. The receptionist looked up and smiled. "Dr. Nixon. We've been expecting you. Dr. Lakshmi will meet you shortly to discuss Project Immortalis." Project Immortalis. The name made Taylor's real body, floating in a suspension tank aboard the Precise Inquiry, ripple with distaste. She had studied 2,814 sentient species across the galaxy. All of them had accepted death in some form. All except humans. "What the hell is wrong with you people?" she thought, as her human face smiled politely back at the receptionist. "I'm looking forward to contributing to your groundbreaking work," Taylor said, the words feeling strange in her borrowed mouth. Dar. Eliza Lakshmi appeared moments later, a tall woman with silver-streaked hair and eyes that sparkled with the particular madness of genius. "Dr. Nixon. Your research on pluripotent stem cells is remarkable. I have so many questions about your methodology." Taylor followed her deeper into the institute, mentally reviewing her fabricated research background. "I'm more interested in your work, actually. Particularly your approach to what you call radical longevity." Dr. Lakshmi laughed. "Radical? A century ago, maybe. Now we're just talking about the inevitable next step in human evolution. Death is becoming optional, Dr. Nixon. The first human who will live to 1,000 years has already been born." Taylor felt something between horror and fascination. "But, why?" Dr. Lakshmi stopped walking and turned to her, expression serious. "Why not? Death is the ultimate limitation. We've conquered so many others: disease, distance, resource scarcity. Why accept this final constraint?" "Because it's natural," Taylor said before she could stop herself. "So is dying from an infected tooth," Dr. Lakshmi countered. "So is childbirth mortality. So is starving during a drought. Natural doesn't mean good, Dr. Nixon. I thought someone with your background would understand that." They reached a secure door, and Dr. Lakshmi pressed her palm against a scanner. "Welcome to Project Immortalis," she said as the door slid open. "Where we're rewriting what it means to be human." Taylor stepped through, and what she saw inside made her realize she had gravely underestimated humanity's determination to cheat death. The laboratory beyond was filled with technology far more advanced than should be possible for their developmental stage. In one corner, human brain organoids floated in nutrient baths, connected to artificial circulatory systems. Across the room, nanobots smaller than red blood cells were being programmed to repair cellular damage. And in the center, suspended in a transparent cylinder filled with amber fluid, was a human body, elderly but alive, with tubes and sensors connected to every major organ system. Dr. Lakshmi noticed her staring. That's Walter. 108 years old. Terminal heart failure, advanced osteoporosis, early-stage dementia. Or rather, that's what he had when he volunteered for our program 3 years ago. And now? Taylor whispered. Dr. Lakshmi smiled. Now his biological age is approximately 67 and getting younger every month. He's our proof of concept. Taylor stepped closer to the cylinder, human revulsion and scientific curiosity battling within her. The man's eyes were open, watching her approach. They didn't hold the vacancy of a sedated patient, they were alert, intelligent, amused. Walter smiled and raised a hand in greeting. He's fully conscious? Taylor asked. Of course. This isn't suspended animation, it's rejuvenation. He's experiencing every moment of his return to youth. Taylor met Walter's gaze, and something in his eyes, a determination, a hunger for more life, sent a chill through her borrowed spine. What the hell is wrong with you humans, she thought again, but this time with a new emotion she couldn't quite identify. It might have been fear. The next 4 weeks at the Wonder Years Institute dissolved Taylor's professional detachment entirely. She found herself both repelled and captivated by humanity's defiance of their biological expiration dates. They've developed cellular reprogramming techniques that shouldn't be possible for at least another 3 centuries, she reported to the Precise Inquiry. They're not just extending life, they're reversing senescence itself. Commander Raza's responses grew increasingly concerned. Consider extraction before you compromise objectivity. But Taylor couldn't leave. The mystery had become personal. On her 43rd day at the Institute, Dr. Lakshmi invited her to her office after hours. The space was warm, filled with antiques, paper books, a wooden desk, a vintage record player. You've been asking interesting questions, Taylor, Lakshmi said, pouring amber liquid into 2 glasses. But not the ones I expected from someone with your background. What do you mean? You keep asking, why extend life, why beat death? A true longevity researcher never asks why. It's always how. Lakshmi handed her a glass. So either you're not who you claim to be, or you're struggling with something fundamental. Taylor took the glass. I believe in questioning the ethics of what we do. Many technologies can be developed. Not all should be. Lakshmi smiled. A philosopher disguised as a scientist. How refreshing. Later that night, Taylor found herself walking San Francisco's hilly streets, her mind in chaos. The human body she inhabited felt increasingly familiar, its sensations no longer foreign. Worse, she was beginning to understand the human obsession with extending life. These bodies, for all their limitations, experienced the world with an intensity her natural form never had. Food exploded with flavor. Music resonated through flesh and bone. The simple pleasure of sunlight on skin triggered chemical cascades of satisfaction. And the emotions, so raw, so immediate. In just 6 weeks, she had felt more joy, more sorrow, more fear and exhilaration than in decades as herself. Perhaps that was why they clung to life so desperately. They felt it so keenly. Her communicator buzzed, a message from Lakshmi, something extraordinary is happening with Walter. Come to Lab 7 immediately. When Taylor arrived at Lab 7, the laboratory was buzzing with activity. Technicians swarmed around Walter's cylinder, monitoring equipment that emitted urgent beeps. What's happening? She asked a nearby researcher. His telomeres are regenerating at an unprecedented rate, the woman replied. Complete cellular restructuring across his entire system. Lakshmi spotted Taylor and waved her over. His cells aren't just rejuvenating, they're evolving. Creating new mechanisms of self-repair we've never seen before. Is this deliberate? Part of your treatment? No, Lakshmi whispered, eyes wide. This is spontaneous. His body has taken our protocols and improved upon them. It's like his cells refuse to accept death as inevitable. Taylor looked at Walter floating in his amber prison. His eyes were closed now, his face serene. But beneath that calm exterior, his body was fighting a war against mortality itself, and winning. What happens when he wakes up? Taylor asked. Lakshmi's expression shifted to something more guarded. That's the next phase of Project Immortalis. Walter is just the beginning. We have over 200 volunteers ready to undergo the same procedure, with the enhancements his case has revealed. 200. This is still experimental. Potentially dangerous. Dangerous? Lakshmi laughed, but there was no humor in it. More dangerous than certain death. These are people who are already dying, Taylor. Terminal cancer patients. Advanced Alzheimer's cases. The truly elderly. We're offering them a second chance. Taylor thought of her own species, who lived precisely as long as their biology dictated, no more, no less, and then gracefully dissolved back into the elemental soup of their home world. There was beauty in that certainty, that acceptance. But where does it end? She asked. If you beat aging, what's the natural endpoint? 1,000 years? 10,000? Immortality? Lakshmi's eyes gleamed. Now you're asking the right questions. That night, Taylor couldn't sleep. She sat at her apartment window, watching the city lights shimmer like stars fallen to earth, and composed what might be her final report. The humans have progressed beyond all projected models. Their determination to defeat death isn't just cultural, it's becoming biological. They're evolving, by choice and will, into something post-human. This is their path. She added, request permission to extend observation indefinitely. There is something happening here that defies all our assumptions about sentient life. Commander Raza's response came swiftly, request denied. Extraction in 36 hours. This mission has compromised your objectivity. Taylor knew the commander was right. But she couldn't leave. Not when she was so close to understanding. The next morning, she went to the institute early. She needed to see Walter one more time, to understand what drove humans to rage so fiercely against their natural end. Lab 7 was dimly lit. Walter's cylinder glowed softly in the center of the room, the amber fluid casting golden patterns on the walls. Taylor approached and placed her hand against the glass. Walter's eyes opened, focusing on her with unnerving clarity. His lips moved, forming words she couldn't hear. But somehow, she understood. You're afraid, he seemed to say. Yes, she whispered. I'm afraid of what you're becoming. Walter smiled and pressed his hand against the glass, mirroring hers. A shock ran through Taylor's system, images flooded her mind, Walter playing with children, holding a dying woman's hand, staring at stars, painting, laughing with friends. Moments. Thousands of moments. Each one singular, precious. And she understood. Humans didn't fear death because they were arrogant. They feared it because they experienced life as an accumulation of unique moments, each irreplaceable. They wanted more not out of greed, but out of wonder. The realization staggered her. Her own species experienced life as a continuous flow, without the sharp edges of human joy and grief. Death wasn't traumatic because life wasn't, quite so vivid. Walter's voice seemed to echo in her mind, we're not trying to live forever. We're just trying to live enough. The laboratory door opened behind her. Dr. Lakshmi entered with 2 security guards. I received some interesting information about you this morning, Dr. Nixon, Lakshmi said calmly. Or should I say, researcher Taz-Nix of the Galactic Biological Survey. Taylor froze. How could you possibly know that? Did you think you were the first non-human to take an interest in our work? We've been aware of off-world observation for decades. You've seen too much. The security guards moved to flank her. What are you going to do? Taylor asked. Extract information. Your species clearly has biological insights we lack. A fair exchange, wouldn't you say? Walter tapped against the glass, drawing her attention. He pointed to a control panel on his cylinder. Taylor lunged for the panel and slammed her palm against the emergency release. Alarms blared as the amber fluid drained from Walter's cylinder. The cylinder opened, and Walter stepped out. His body now had the vitality of a man 30 years younger. "Thank you," he said. "They wouldn't have let me out until they were sure they could control the changes." Lakshmi's face contorted with rage. "You have no idea what you've done. He's not stable yet. The cellular restructuring is exactly what I wanted," Walter interrupted. "Not what you wanted." He turned to Taylor. "You should go. Your people are waiting for you." Taylor hesitated. "What about you?" Walter smiled. "I've been given more time. I intend to use it." He looked at Lakshmi. Not as a lab specimen, but as a human being. The security guards moved toward them, but Walter raised a hand. Something in his posture, his newfound vitality, made them pause. "I wouldn't," he said quietly. "My cells aren't just rejuvenated, they're enhanced. I'm not entirely sure what I'm capable of now, and I don't think you want to find out the hard way." Taylor backed toward the door. "This isn't over," she said to Lakshmi. "You've started something you don't understand." "That's precisely what makes us human," Lakshmi replied, her anger giving way to pride. "We never stop reaching, even when we should." Hours later, as the extraction shuttle carried her back to the precise inquiry, Taylor watched Earth grow smaller. Her official report was brief: human determination to overcome death represents an evolutionary pressure of their own making. They are becoming the architects of their next biological phase. Her unofficial thought was simpler: perhaps what's wrong with humans isn't that they refuse to die like other species. Perhaps what's wrong with other species is that they never learn to live like humans, with such desperate, beautiful hunger for just one more day of wonder. As her human form dissolved, returning her to her natural body, Taylor found herself hoping that Walter would use his extra years well. And wondering if the intensity of human experience might be worth the pain of knowing it would end. Some answers, she reflected, could only be found by those brave enough, or foolish enough, to rage against the inevitable.